The Woodbury County Board of Supervisors passed the first of 3 readings to increase setbacks for newly constructed wind turbines in the county.
The proposed ordinance change would mean wind turbines would have to be built at least 2 miles from incorporated cities in the county. The ordinance change would also mean wind turbines would have to be built at least a half mile from conservation areas in the county. Now, at tonight's supervisors meeting, several citizens and city leaders expressed concern about wind turbines, and the people who spoke in public comment favored even greater setback distances, not 2 miles, but in some cases 5 miles from incorporated cities.
We're trying to be unique in Woodbury County. We're trying to save the Les Hills. We're trying to save the county as a whole. And I would like to continue growing the county. I'd like to see my kids stay here, not move away.
Let's keep Woodbury County free and open. Many new homes have been or are being built in rural Woodbury County. Industrial wind turbines would destroy that opportunity here.
Board Chairman Matthew Ung says the board could amend the ordinance change in the second or third reading, but he believes the 2-mile setback from incorporated cities is fair.
We have to be transparent about how we come to these figures. 2 miles is fairly standard from other communities as well, and it does allow for that growth in the future, which is important, especially when they're talking about lease arrangements that are 40+ years.
Ung says it was helpful to hear public comment today. He says the board is committed to reflecting the wants and needs of citizens.